And we're back for another episode of the 100x Gem Show. If you've never heard of the 100x Gem Show and you don't know what it is, it's simple. We're looking at small market cap projects with the idea of can this coin 100x in the future? We're not looking at the quality of the project. We're not thinking, is this a good project? Is this bad? Is this crappy? Is this gold? We're just saying, hey, let's look at the project. Let's do a quick overview. And can this project get us to that 100x potential? I'm here with Ozzy again. We're back at it again like a bad habit. And we're going to do the same thing as we did last week. Or if you just saw the episode that went live today, we're doing a show and tell edition. Basically, I brought a project today. Ozzy brought a project today. We're going to be sharing it from our perspective and the research that we've done. And the other person, go ahead and ask us questions to help them decide, hey, do I think that the project that you brought today has 100x potential? And today we're switching it up a little bit. Ozzy's going to go first. So Ozzy, welcome back, man. What do you have in store for me today?
Oh, thanks for having me. Happy to be doing 100x again. I've got the token ticker is Moz or Mozaic Finance.
Before we dig into everything this episode has to offer, we want to highlight the awesome partners who sponsor this podcast and make it possible for us to work full-time on 100x. They're legends, and we appreciate them for supporting us. RWA is one of the hottest narratives in 2024, and BlockSquare is actively proving why as the tokenization infrastructure provider for real estate. Tokenization changes everything, taking us from a world where a property is transacted once a decade to one where hundreds of transactions of that same asset are executed in moments. Any business can use BlockSquare to digitize the value of properties, launch investment platforms, and connect people to tokenized real estate deals. They've got every tool you need, whether you're a business or you want to participate in RWA through Ocean Point, where they've brought almost 100 properties on chain. To learn more, join their Telegram community and listen to our episode with them in the description below. Astrobit is the king of automated trading, and now they've introduced a freemium model. Put those trading fees to use. How does it work? Sign up to an exchange with one of Astrobit's affiliate links and receive at least 30 free credits as a loyalty bonus. Then earn credits on your trading fees. The more you trade, the more credits you can generate. Use those credits towards trading bots and strategies. In other words, you can create a passive income stream at no cost. Find more deets in the description below. Imagine if Xbox existed without Xbox Live. No way for gamers to play games, no path for developers to find players. That is Web3 gaming right now. Disjointed, messy, fragmented. Shrapnel has the solution. Built on an AVAX subnet by Mark McCurry, head of blockchain and senior vice president at Consensus, with more than 20 years at Microsoft. This infrastructure, codenamed Bridge, is an all-in-one, modular, multi-chain solution to make Web3 accessible for Web2 devs. What the heck does that mean? It means real games can actually exist in Web3. No more dreaming. Real blockchain gaming is possible because of Shrapnel's codename Bridge. Find out more about Shrapnel and Bridge in the description below.
They're an AI automated yield farming project. So they caught my eye. AI kind of feels gimmicky right now, but yield farming, so they're all about using AI to find the best strategies depending on all the different chains for you, so that you don't have to be farming manually yourself or adjust to go find where the best yields are. So that I thought was really interesting. They launched on Arbitrum in September, so great, they're not on Ethereum. Don't need to deal with stupid Ethereum gas fees. Their market cap is 11 million, but they've only got an official circulating supply of 7%. The big thing here is most of the actual tokens, so most of their supply on top of the 7% is held by the DAO, and it will take votes to unlock it. So it's not really, the supply is out there, but it's not easily accessible. It would take DAO votes to unlock it. So that makes the fully diluted value about 163 million. They have burned 5% of their supply, and their tokens used for governance. And if you choose to stake their token, you are eligible for protocol fee sharing, so profit share. And they're partnered with Layer 0 and integrated with Layer 0 so that you can have omni-chain capabilities. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, with Mosaic, I'll be able to go ahead and yield farm automatically with this AI tool and all the chains. So I don't really have to go and look for those specific yield farms and those strategies myself. This will look for the, if I have $1,000, it will find the best optimized place for me to go ahead and farm and earn more money on that $1,000 without me really having to do much. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, exactly. They've got these vaults, and you deposit your $1,000 and it will go farm it for you. And every
Ooh.
hour it updates what the yields are looking like to go see if there's a better opportunity out there.
Nice. I really like that because I am one of those people that does not have, even though I work full time in crypto, I don't have 8 hours a day to specifically look for the most optimized and best APRs on the planet because they're constantly updating. Every other day, someone else is launching a new farm where the APRs are a lot better than they were in the place that you were farming last week. So staying up to date is definitely a full time hustle. And shout out to anyone that does that because I mean, I would just want to. I wouldn't want to be doing that myself. So the fact that there's an AI model, or hopefully that it works well, that can actually do that for me, I think is huge. What does the where does the token come into play? Is that what you have to pay for in order to use the AI?
No, so the AI, you can access the vaults without the token. But with the token, you get a percentage of the fees. So whenever you're using the vault, you pay fees, and whenever you claim your rewards, you pay a certain amount of fees. So a
Mm,
portion of those fees are shared with the token holders who choose to stake their tokens. So
okay.
that's I think that's a useful feature. It's kind of like Uniswap's looking at doing with their big change. So, and then there's governance. Obviously, it's they're going for a DAO decentralized model. So so there's governance involved as well.
Okay, awesome. Have you had a chance to check out and try out the AI, the project itself?
I've checked out the website. I deposited like $100 before the show, so I haven't seen everything with it. But from what I got to experience, it's pretty nice. Last week I told you, the website was crud on the project that I looked at. I really love this website. It's really nice. It was fairly easy and straightforward to interact with. I think that for user experience, it is pretty good.
Okay, and how much are the fees? Because I know you mentioned that the one of the utilities for the token is I'm going to be getting some of that revenue share from the fees itself. If I have $1,000, how much fees can I expect to pay on that if I
It's
want to farm
about
that?
1.5%, and it's mainly on yield. It's not on deposits.
Hmm.
So, uh,
Okay.
yeah. So they're not talking crazy fees. It's not a high fee protocol. It's just, reasonable. I'd say that's a fair amount.
Okay, and how is the actual protocol itself? How does it work? If I have $1,000, I just go in and deposit it. Do they have specific vaults for me available, or do I just deposit it to one place and then it does its own thing?
They've got 3 different vaults right now. I can't remember the names of them. They're all Greek god and hero related. But one of them's farming GMX and GMX yield vaults, and that has like a 330% yield right now. And
Oh,
then there
wow.
was another one that was looking just farming with stable coins for uh, layer 0, and then there was another one that isn't out yet that is having a slightly different strategy. And so you can kind of adjust your risk ratio and kind of where you want to get exposure by choosing different vaults.
And for these strategies that they have, I don't know if you know, do they do some sort of vetting? Because I know with brand new strategies, the newer they are, the riskier they are because it can't really have been vetted if it's just launched recently. But I mean, the fact that they're using GMX, I know they've been around for a long time and are very well known in the space. Do they do some sort of vetting with the strategies that they put on?
From my understanding, there's vetting because each of the vaults kind of takes time to come online.
Mm,
And so my understanding is that there is some vetting, and the AI model essentially is once everything's vetted, it looks to optimize that strategy in real time. And I think that is a pretty kind of a balanced approach of not just finding the highest APR out there without
mm.
actually vetting it. So
Yeah, because I mean, sometimes the highest APR can come with a quick rug as well. A high APR
Exactly.
with a high risk. Awesome. Well, shoot. I mean, I don't really have many other questions. I mean, you tapped into AI, which I think is interesting because you'll see that the project that I have is actually another game. So you're staying on the AI lane, and I'm staying on the game lane, which I think is really interesting. What are the things that you think could potentially stop this from 100x? And do you see like, hey, if these things don't go as they plan, or if they don't achieve these things that they set out on the white paper, then we may see them running into some trouble?
My biggest thing is if they start releasing too many tokens, like the DAO starts releasing tokens too fast. As I said, like the market cap right now is about 11 million, and but the fully diluted technically is 163, even though a lot of that will never enter circulation. So I think if we see too much go out too fast, then that could really hurt its chance of 100xing. Or if people just don't pay attention to yield farming, that's the big concern that I've got right now for them. I think it could kind of be a end of market blow up in terms of a lot of people start looking for passive income towards the end of the cycle, and yield farming is usually one of the places where they go look for it. And so I think that it might be a sleeper for a good portion of the market, and then kind of really start taking off as people try to yield farm more.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right now, I feel like everyone and their mothers is just throwing their money at, long shots and saying like, "Hey, right now everyone's excited. Just throw money at things that otherwise wouldn't blow up, but everything is blowing up right now." So it does make sense that something a little bit safer, a little bit more relaxed, and actually, with farm yield or yield farming would take a little bit long. But I mean, I'm looking at the chart. I pulled it up while you were talking there, and it seems that they launched back in November around like 4 cents, and they're sitting at 17 right now. So that's still like a 4.5x over the last couple months. So they're sitting nice and pretty. Um, but for 11 million market cap, it could still have a lot of room to grow.
Exactly. With 11 million, I mean, 100x is 1.1 billion. And if they can truly build the best yield optimizer out there, they will definitely exceed a 1.1 billion dollar market cap. Like that's just kind of, there's so much liquidity out there, and it's all out there yield farming. And so to have that, I think, just if they are truly a good model that fully works, then I don't see why they couldn't exceed that 1.1 billion dollar market cap.
Yeah, the only other question that I have left before I can give you my verdict, I would say, is do you know how battle tested their AI model is? How have they back tested it for a long time? Have they been building it for a while? Is it something that they're working through? Because the thing with a lot of these models is you don't want it to be making a mistake and accidentally, pull out of like a pool too fast, or putting into a pool that hasn't been tested, things like that. I mean, you never know what kind of problems these sort of models can run into.
I haven't seen a ton about their battle testing. It is doing behavioral learning, so they are teaching it as it goes, so that it does, like, if it does make a mistake, hey, you made a mistake here, and so that it can learn from that. But I don't know how battle tested it truly is. I couldn't find enough information. I didn't dive deep enough, maybe, to find that part out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think with something like this, you can't go too wrong, especially because I mean it's yield farming, so it's not like it's trying to do a lot of the things that a lot of these other AI protocols are trying to do, which are a lot more far fetched and really shooting for the stars. I think this is a pretty good way to have a decent protocol, a strong, solid protocol in yield farming, while also still trying to ride that wave of AI and be considered an AI token, even though it's not like trying to take over the world or anything. So I think all in all, I think this does have a potential to 100x. Like you said, maybe not in the near future, just because everyone's looking at shorter term plays. But the fact that this has those tokens behind semi decently locked ways, that's not going to be just being pumping out tokens into the circulating supply really quickly, I think will definitely help it.
I agree with you. So tell me about what you've got for me today. I'm interested. I'm interested to hear.
Before we dig into everything this episode has to offer, we want to highlight the awesome partners who sponsor this podcast and make it possible for us to work full time on 100x. 100x. They're legends, and we appreciate them for supporting us. Let's talk about Reactor, a proof-of-work blockchain that introduces a brand new economic model, DePIN mining software, a gaming distribution platform, the RKR token, and their game, Minions of Steel, that's proving their thesis by seamlessly integrating proof-of-work token mining with gaming. Through allowing players to mine with their own GPU while playing, not only do they essentially make gaming free, they make software free, and they present an AI-proof income for everyone. If you want to take a glimpse into the future and get there early, explore Reactor's ecosystem at the link below. In Web3 gaming, the approaches have essentially been to offer the entire world and fail to deliver, or spend years building an awesome game while you wait. Enter a third option: building games on existing platforms and incorporating Web3 mechanics to already huge audiences. Fort Block Games, a US registered company with a fully doxed team, is doing exactly that, crafting gaming experiences inside Roblox and Fortnite and launching unique reward system through their FBG token. They're also pioneering an innovative profit share play and earn model. Try out their Roblox release Escape America 2069 right now with their Fortnite release Sunburn Central coming this quarter. To learn more about their current games, the FBG token, or the in-development competitive shooter, follow the link below. Crypto does not need to be complicated. Cadena is building the human layer of blockchain by giving the power back to the people and allowing them to build products that make a difference for humanity. Founded by ex-JP Morgan and SEC blockchain leads, Cadena develops easy-to-understand, human-readable tools and solutions that focus on the long-term development of the space, not just short-term gains. Simply put, if we want real, regular people to enter and enjoy Web3, Cadena is making a way. To learn more, check out Cadena.io, follow them on Twitter at Cadena_IO, or watch our episode with them.
Yeah, so the one that I have today, and so the little disclaimer, this is the earliest that we will ever have been on the 100x Gem Show for any sort of token, and the reason why is because the token is not out yet. But the reason why I want to bring this project to you guys today is because this brings me so much childhood nostalgia, and the reason why is because when I was a kid, when I first got into gaming, the first MMORPG that I ever played was this little title that not a lot of people knew. I thought it was very huge because everyone in my circle played it. But as I grew older and I talked to people about it, not a lot of people knew this game. But it's called MapleStory. And if you don't know what MapleStory is, it's a free-to-play, 2D, side-scrolling, massive multiplayer online role-playing game built by a South Korean team. And I fell in love with this when I was a kid, and mostly because it was able to run in the 1995 Windows computer that I had at home, and it was able to run smoothly because I wasn't able to run things like WoW or like Final Fantasy or any like these high intensive games. Because it's a 2D game, my computer was able to run it just fine. But I remember falling in love with this and grinding this out when I was a kid. So when I heard about them coming to Web3 a couple of weeks ago, and when I heard it, I followed their account and I turned on the bells to make sure that I stayed up to date. But the reason why I want to bring this to you today is because they just recently announced, and when I say recently, it's literally March 11th when they announced this. So 2 days ago, that they're actually now collaborating with Avalanche. So MapleStory is actually going to have a subnet on Avalanche, and on that subnet, they're going to use the Nesto token. So that's the token that they'll be using and that will come out in the future. It's not out yet, but MapleStory will actually be building its own subnet on the Avalanche ecosystem. And that makes me super bullish because I really do believe in the Avalanche ecosystem and the way that they're building the subnets. And it really is becoming the place to go, or one of the places to go when you talk about gaming on Web3. And so if you don't know what MapleStory is, well, the way that they're trying to add or bring the utility into the Web3 ecosystem is this MMORPG. Pretty much everything that you find across the world, as you kill monsters, as you do things, those will be items that you can then go ahead and mint into NFTs. So if you've played it in the sort of free-to-play Web 2 aspect, it will be exactly the same way. You won't need to learn anything new, but now they're able to bring in the aspect of like, hey, anything that you actually pick up in the game, you have the ability to mint and then trade on their marketplace that they're building, for actual currency. And another cool thing that they're doing, and I think it's the hot topic that everyone's doing right now, is user-generated content. So people who have loved the game for years and years will actually be able to build their own immersive worlds, and they'll be rewarded for doing so. So as people, I'm assuming as people use their world and they play their maps and everything, they'll be rewarded for doing that. And if people really like the world that you're building, you would be rewarded in terms of the tokens that you make, and you can set up little fees and things like that. But I just think this is a really cool thing to see one of the biggest studios that has ruled Web 2. And MapleStory is actually one of the first games that succeeded at the free-to-play model. When everybody else was doing a subscription model for MMOs, they actually say, you know what, our game is going to be free-to-play for everyone. You just need to make an account. And they were one of the very first projects and games to succeed in that. So them being the first movers to bring a huge game into the Web3, I think is just going to be really set to blow up. So I'm excited to see where they go from here.
Okay. I love how excited you are about it. Like, I was not an MMORPG gamer at all as a kid. I don't think we got a Wii in the house, and the Wii was the first video console that we got in the house till I was 14. So, did not play a lot of games. I had Zoo Tycoon that came in the cereal boxes. That was like one of the only games that I had for the computer as a kid. So super excited to hear how excited you are about this. I guess my first question is, do we know when they're releasing the token?
So based on everything that they have, like I said, they just a couple weeks ago, I heard that they were coming on chain. So the information available is limited. But now that they're working with Avalanche, more information is starting to trickle out. We do know that the game will be launched by the end of this year. So with that said, I'm guessing that in a couple months, maybe in a month or two, they're going to start their early beta access for people to actually start trying the game. And with airdrop farming being such a hot narrative, play to airdrop and things like that, I can only assume that might be one of the routes that they decide to take to actually have this token be released, allowing people to come and play their game. I mean, they've had 25 years almost of this game being out, so the game should be working flawlessly. Now they just have to actually make the Web3 components actually be working, but they're going to be working closely with Avalanche. So when projects say, "Oh, we're going to launch by the end of the year," I tend not to believe them. But with their experience and the fact that they're working so closely with Avalanche, I do see them fully releasing this game by the end of the year.
Okay, so that's interesting. Do we know anything about pre-investment or team tokens or anything like that? Just, one of those biggest things that with games is you see a lot of tokens either allocated to team or to early investors, then that kind of hurts the price over time. So do we know anything about that?
No, we don't have any information at that. I'm keeping an eye out for the white paper. As soon as that white paper is out, I'm going to go ahead and read it and make sure I have all the information ready. But this is as early as we can get to any sort of project. And the one thing that I will say is that the game that I played when I was a kid was the first MapleStory. From there, then when they went ahead and spun out a different one, MapleStory 2, which was a 3D version of the same game to appeal to a different kind of audience that didn't like the 2D version. And apparently in the Web 2 aspect, there was some areas they decided to really shift their way from free to play to like free to play with gacha mechanics. And if you don't know what gacha is, you pretty much, it's like a slot machine. You go ahead and pay some money and spend a slot, and then you get an item from that. And if you've ever played any gacha games, you know how addictive those can get. And a lot of people didn't like the fact that they were moving into that sort of gacha pay to win aspect of it, because like you can just pay your way to get the best items without having to grind like every other MMO. So that's something that's not just a concern for this game, but it's a concern for pretty much any game out there right now. I mean, Black Ops and Call of Duty did it as well. So that's the only thing that I'm sort of concerned about, like if they're going to leave some of those aspects behind, or if they're just going to bring all that on chain and bring those gacha elements to things that maybe will turn off some people. Because I've tried to stay away from gacha games myself. Like those can get very addicting very quickly.
Yeah, I do play some MMOs and some RPGs and stuff like that now, strategy games, but I refuse to play any games that have in-game currencies to like where you can buy things, unless it's just custom skins. Like I do play Fortnite, and like, okay, you get custom skins, I don't care. Like go spend your $30,000 on Fortnite skins. But okay, I don't have a lot of questions because it's just so early on. Do we think that there are a lot of other competitors like in that kind of space for coming into Web3 right now? Because I think that could maybe be a disadvantage for them.
Well, in terms of the MMORPG, there are other MMOs that are being worked on. I know we've talked about Cosmic Universe on the podcast before. We've talked about MetaDOS in the past, and there's a couple other names that are building MMORPGs in this space already. But the thing that I think gives MapleStory an advantage is that they have 20 years of experience. They have this game built out for the last 25 years. They've built so many other games that it's not like, hey, this is a team that this is their first time building an MMORPG. They're untested. No, these guys are coming in with everything that they already have, all this massive IP, and are just bringing it into Web3. The one thing I will say in terms of the token itself is that because they're going to be a subnet, we do know that high likelihood their Neso token that they're going to be using is going to be the token for used for gas on the actual subnet, giving it a massive utility for the game. And it's also going to be, as teased on their Twitter, the token that they use for their marketplace as well. So already off the bat, that token is going to be used pretty much anywhere you go in the game.
Yeah, so it's pretty integrated from the sounds of it. When you said subnet, I made the assumption I know what subnets do, and I know that means that it's probably going to be used for gas, but I didn't. It was good to probably clarify for that for the audience, and it's good to see that it's going to be a marketplace token. You also mentioned that it could be used for rewards. So if you develop user-generated content, it could be used for rewards. So keep in mind that does mean emissions. And so we'll have to see what their emission rate looks like on their white paper. So maybe I might ask you to bring this back on the Gem Show once we get their white paper so that we can dive into that juicy stuff a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Once there's more information and I feel like, hey, we have a date, like this is when they're going to launch their day, we'll bring it back and just remind everyone about it. But I was so excited to hear that not only they're now in Web3, but the fact that they're working with Avalanche, which I love the Avalanche ecosystem. I mean, I'm playing Shrapnel every 2 weeks. So they have some really good other teams that are building in the same sort of ecosystem. So if they just look around there where they're building and say like, hey, they're doing really well, let's see if we can get some advice from them in terms of how to build our economic model. I think they're in a really good place, especially with AVAX wanting to work so closely with them because they know they're such a huge name. I'm hoping they don't fuck it up.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully they don't screw it up. Hopefully they make the game. I mean, game mechanics sound like they'll be fine because they do have so much experience. Let's just hope they don't mess up the Web3 experience side of it. And in my opinion, I think this could 100x, but I really have to look at tokenomics before I say that. So I think this game has massive potential, and I am very excited to look at the white paper because if I see a nice white paper, then that could be the thing that pushes me over the edge that says, yeah, this thing could have 100x. I think the two things that I see that can maybe make it not 100x, in my opinion, are it starts at too high of a valuation. So there's either the price of the token's too high, or there's too many tokens in circulation, or that they boondoggle there's too much emissions. So too many tokens are getting released as rewards. And so those are kind of my two concerns. But outside of that, I think great pick for potential 100x this cycle.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. And the one thing that I will say is that I think this is going to be a huge test for Web3 gaming as a whole, because right up until now, a lot of the games that everyone's excited about and seeing like, hey, these are going to be the top tier S tier games are games that are being built from the ground up as Web3 games. This is, I think, the first time that we're seeing a massive Web2 IP stepping into Web3 and saying, hey, we're in and we believe in the blockchain. And now it's to see like, hey, can they actually convince their audience to fall in love with the Web3? And it's going to be a huge test, whether for the positive or for a bumpy road ahead if things don't go as planned and as well as I hope.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's very, very good point. Hopefully it could mean massive adoption for AVAX if all of their players or most of their players come over to Web3. And it'll be interesting to see if they take the model that a lot of other games are taking, where you can do just be Web2, or you can integrate the web, or you can be Web3 kind of thing. And so I'll be interested to see what they do with that as well, whether it's a full Web3 or that nice kind of hybrid that we've been kind of seeing a lot.
Yeah, I'm excited. Well, those are the 2 picks that you have today. I know one of them you can't buy right now, but don't say that we didn't warn you. This is the earliest you'll ever see a gem talked about on the show. And so make sure you check all the links below. Follow all the accounts for everyone that we go ahead and talk about today. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.